Hello, everybody. Welcome back to CSF. Today we'll be going over what happened last week with Bitcoin and its crash and people freaking out. So let's start off with a couple things that happened last week. One of the things was the Turkish lira has been having issues with people recently. And now that people started transitioning from their own currency, they've actually got hit with $2 billion worth of investor funds being lost. It looks like a CEO from an exchange took $2 billion worth and moved it for whatever reason, and it looks like they're looking for him. So in crypto news, that's not great to say the least. And it's not the first one. So there's actually a couple of exchanges, I believe, worldwide that this has happened to. I remember it's happened in India. Um, the guy's funds or people's funds were moved by the CEO or one of the founders, and things just go missing. So this is something to be wary of if you're a new investor. Always try and do your due diligence. Always do your research before you pick an exchange. Um, if this is a big thing for you guys where you don't get into crypto because you feel like it's not trustworthy enough and needs more regulation, there's actually these new types of exchanges called DEX, decentralized exchanges, which are not managed by people or company anymore, which by people or companies anymore. The way they function is through code. So all the code needed to be done for any transactions are there. And then once the code starts functioning, once you have enough like money along with the code that was created in order to keep these exchanges going, there's no centralized point. So there's no one person that can move your funds. There's no company that can move your funds, which a lot of people like. So that's a big plus in the industry, and that's really big. So blockchain is still its in its infancy stages, I would say. So there's a lot of room for growth, but at the same time there's a lot of risk. So the best way to manage risk and fear is to empower yourself with knowledge and understanding. So that's one thing that happened recently. And yeah, people aren't happy. Their government is pretty much devaluing their currency, and they are not having it. They're looking for alternatives. And this is not only in Turkey, it's also in Argentina, it's also in Venezuela, it's also in different parts of the world. Luckily, we're fortunate enough that we don't have to worry about that type of thing as much, even though we still are. Because if you look at where the money's going as far as dollars, you can check the DXY or look at my last video how our dollars function with inflation over time. Definitely a great video to check out. Check out the first one so you can get an idea of like where your money goes. But moving on, we also had an issue with Biden, or at least they say it's an issue with what they want to raise tax rates to about 40% overall. Um, from the 35%. And even if you're a short-term investor, um, which was the 35%, I believe, tax rate for capital gains, has now they're proposing a 40%. And then a long-term investor, the original, I think, tax margin was between 15 and 20%. And it's just mayhem everywhere. So they're trying to increase taxes on capital gains, and supposedly that's what triggered the sell-off. So this happened, let's see, April 21st, 2021 is when he spoke about this. And at the same time, look at what happened to the market. So let me move this down. So as you can see, we had about a 27%, 20, say about 26% drawback, pull down, correction, whatever you want to call it. Um, so we had a drop from about 65%. I'm sorry, $65,000. We had a 26% drop, and people were panicking. People were scared, and it's understandable. You don't know what's going on. So, like I said, the best way to address fear is by empowering yourself with knowledge. So I always recommend people to do their research. And the best time to do your research is not when these markets are going like crazy and parabolic. So you can see this 26% and you can freak out, you know, be like, this is my first time in the market, I don't know what's going on, I'm scared, I'm gonna sell. So there was a lot of liquidation as well, which means there's a lot of people that were using margin, and that is when you borrow money from an exchange, and you set up your assets as collateral. And as long as you're within a certain range, your assets are okay, and then you can get money that are loaned to you on interest. Usually it's small interest, that you can use in the market to quote unquote play with. And what that gives you access to is greater returns. However, if your stocks or the value of your portfolio drops too far in margin, then you can get liquidated. The exchange always wants to make sure it doesn't lose money, so it will sell some assets even at a loss, or some cryptocurrency even at a loss. This is available in the stock market as well, not only cryptocurrency, and you will lose whatever money you had invested. Now there's some crazy margins. I've seen 10x, 20x, 100x. So some people can get liquidated heavily. And I've seen $250,000 losses. I've seen $1 million losses. And if you're feeling emotional about this, then you're probably not ready for this. The reason why I say this is because you can't get emotional. So you see me draw these charts and these patterns. Some investors, they sold on these red candlesticks, you know, all the way down, down, down. And if they would have bought at certain places, then it probably would have gone back. I'm not gonna say it's good to buy at every dip or every time there's a crash or a pull down or anything like that. I will, however, say that your risk to reward ratio generally, depending on where the market is, as far as in what part of the cycle that you can capitalize on, like at that price point. So like 26% drop, like whoa, that's a lot, you know. If you see it go from, let's say, about 65,000 down to 47,000, people freak out. But I only see percentages now. So that's does it, like I even anything that I buy, anything that I spend money on, anything that has to do with gains, profit, returns, percentage. So if you haven't done that, or you don't do that, it might be a good thing for you to try out, and then you can see your profitability or your efficiency in these types of money movements. So like I said, 26% looks like a lot. You go back, and if you look at from where we started, let's start January. Let's say January was around here. Okay, so this is January 3rd. What was it right here? So okay, January 1st, around here. You go back up, that's 111% from the top. And then right now we're still up 88% from January, which is not bad. And personally, from my data that I pull, I see that we've just started. Like, it's still early, in my opinion. You know, like I said, always do your research. Only invest in what you feel comfortable investing. Don't let other people like manage it for you. I would suggest the best thing you can do is manage it yourself. And the reason why I say this is because cryptocurrency generally is a way to get out of the old system, where we have these regulations that may not benefit us as much as they say they benefit us. If you want to understand more about this, you might want to look into the GME AMC fiasco that happened. And there's a lot of rules that people aren't aware of. So for the average person, you are generally fighting against the casino, you could say, in a sense. But like I said, people think that this 26% is a big drop, but let's go further back. Let's go further back. So let's go back to 2017. Okay, so we had this big run up, you know, from let's start at the beginning of the year. Same thing, 2017. Start with January. We have a big run up where it topped out, and right now I'm just talking about Bitcoin. topped out at around, say, 2,500%. So that's about 25x, 25 times whatever you initially invested in January. And then there was a huge crash. Right, let's get the lowest point. So the lowest point is about an 84%. And then from there, if you would have got the lowest point or kept investing to, even a place around there, let's look at just last year, 2020. Somewhere in 2020, January 2020. All the way to where we're currently at, which is over here. So that's about a 550% return. Where are you going to get that in the stock market? Where are you going to get that anywhere else? I've been talking about this technology for a while now. It's extremely valuable information that's coming for the future. There's a lot of things that you'll be seeing in the future that you're not familiar with now. Before, we didn't have companies such as Uber. We didn't have these DoorDash type of companies where they deliver food. We didn't have companies that picked you up. We didn't have type of companies that were available before the internet. And you could say this as like the internet 3.0 or a different type of phase for the internet. Before, we could only read and write messages, then we could post videos, then we could interact with videos and people, and it's just expanding from there. So if you don't have the luxury of having a computer, or you don't have the knowledge of being so technologically savvy because of your economic background perhaps, or environment, I would suggest, if you have a cell phone, like, just look at what's going on in the world. You can see so many different things, so many necessities that are needed as far as change systems, whether it's in the financial system, whether it's in government, whether it's in education is a big one. There's huge changes that are happening right now, and there's going to be a few different types of people. You're going to be either ahead of the change, you're either going to be following everybody else, or you're just going to sit on the sidelines and wait for something to happen, and then make your reaction. So I personally try and be ahead, because there's always opportunity when you see things coming. Sometimes you might be a little bit early, like I said. You have these cycles where there's a big, huge crash, and you just either you wait it out, you sell, you whatever it is, you get pushed out of your position. It happens in stocks all the time. So you just got to hold your ground, and a good way to do that is by being knowledgeable and not have this fear of failure because of lack of understanding. So I definitely recommend people get into charting, get into understanding crypto, artificial intelligence, electric vehicles. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of room for growth. But I would say the biggest thing that you can start off with is the macroeconomics, as far as like what's going on in the world, because right now the whole entire world is being affected by crypto, and everything happens in cycles. Nothing is generally like straightforward, not even success doesn't, you don't take an elevator to success. You zigzag and goes down, up. Same thing as these charts. So we can do another video on like mentality, market mentality, and just people's mentality, which is pretty interesting. It's the psychological aspect to the market. But where I think this is going, I don't think crypto is going away. We will have another market crash, in my opinion, and this is not financial advice. But something that pretty cool that's happening is these stock tokens, or I'm sorry, these stock that we have available in the markets are going to be created, or are going to be available in tokenized form, which I thought was pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. So you have MicroStrategy, Apple, and Microsoft stock tokens on Binance. Binance is an international exchange. It is not available in the US. However, they do have a Binance US version. The US is very strict on exchanges, so people don't have the issues like what happened in Turkey, or try and mitigate that. Now, the downside is that you don't have access to other assets because they quote unquote too risky for the average investor, or people. Now, personally, I don't like to be limited. That's why I don't use Apple. I think their software is great. The hardware, yeah, I don't, maybe not the hardware as well, but I like being able to do things without restriction. And if I fail, I fail, but I learn from every mistake that I make, and I grow from there. So right now we're in the middle of like being in the Wild West, where like there's very, the sheriff is doing his own thing. He's turning a blind eye, or he doesn't know what's going on or how to like manage certain things. Um, and there's a lot of stuff happening that you can capitalize on opportunity. So if you don't know something, it's probably a good thing to look into, um, so you can get an idea of potential opportunities for yourself or your family. And this is why I do these type of videos, because I would like people to be able to manage their finances, manage their opportunities, have more opportunities, or at least see them when they appear in front of you. It's not for everybody. That's understandable. Some people, they just like working 9 to 5, and that's completely fine. But if you want freedom of time to do the things that you want to do, then there's other types of investments. There's other types of income and money flow that you can acquire through knowledge, and it's not easy. Anything that you're not used to will not be easy. It's a learning process, but it depends how long you want to stay working for the rest of your life, or how many years, or would you want to take some time, maybe a few months, maybe a few years, invest in yourself. That's probably one of the biggest and best investments you can make, is on yourself, and then grow little by little. It adds up. It adds up. Professional athletes would not be where they are right now. They may have talent, but they would not be where they are right now if they didn't put in the work. So if you want to be successful, if you want to have freedom of time, if you want to have better opportunities for yourself, for your family, for whatever, invest time in yourself. Anyway, so that's pretty much it for today. I don't want to get too crazy, but if you guys have any questions on anything that I spoke about, if you have any ideas of like what might be happening in the market, go ahead and leave a comment, drop a like, and subscribe. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time.